All right, welcome to Mind and Magic, where we demystify the occult and talk about all things esoteric. Today, I want to go over the top 5 essentials that you need for your home temple or sacred space. Let's get into it. All right, so one of the main things that separates those who dabble with magic in the occult from those who practice magic in the occult is having your own dedicated temple or sacred space. Now, being a practicing ceremonial magician, I have a room in my basement that serves as my temple. But for others who don't practice ceremonial magic, but practice another form of magic, such as witchcraft or Wicca, those practices don't necessarily need an indoor space. Their sacred space can be outdoors, provided that you have the climate for it. Now, here in the Midwest, we have brutally hot summers and we have brutally cold winters, and way too many prying eyes of nosy neighbors. And so my dedicated temple is indoors and out of sight. That being said, this list is going to be based upon an indoor temple, as there are a few things on this list that are not going to be well suited for an outdoor environment. This list is also not going to include ritual tools because, well, there's too many of them to list. And we've gone over ritual tools before. It's pretty much a given that if you're going to have a temple room, that's where your ritual tools are going to be. Likewise, we're also not going to include your sacred circle, as once again, it's a given that if you're doing rituals in your temple, this is where your sacred circle will be. So we'll just include them as number 7 and 6 on this list and move on from there.
Number 5.
All right, so starting with number 5, this one's not going to be that very exciting. It is storage space. You're going to need a place to put all your things, all those ritual tools that we just mentioned. Now, my main altar is hollowed out, so I keep a lot of things in there, but even that's not enough for the things that you will collect. Thankfully, the room that I used in the basement was built with 2 closets, and so I keep most of my things in those closets. And instead of doors, I just have temple banners hanging in those closet entryways. Now, you may think that that's overkill for storage for your temple, but let me tell you, both of those closets are full. They're full up. There's really not any more room in there. You will collect many things over time. Trust me on that. And if you are fortunate enough to have closet space in your temple room, it's also a good place to keep your wardrobe, your robes, your white shirts or other attire that you have, hanging up any of your stoles, etc. Again, storage space isn't all that exciting, but it is essential when it comes to having your own temple.
Number 4.
Now, number 4 I just picked up myself, and that was kind of the inspiration for making this video. If you have your own temple room in your house, you're going to be burning incense and other things within it, which in turn has ruined the paint job in the temple and some of the temple banners along with it. Because like myself, the room that you have chosen probably doesn't have great ventilation to it. In fact, mine has absolutely none. I can't even crack a window. The room in the basement has no windows, which is great for not allowing light to come in. You want to have your temple as dark as possible, using candlelight instead, but that also means all that incense smoke has nowhere to go. And so the 4th temple essential on this list is a smart HEPA filter. Now, I don't know why I didn't do this myself earlier. Perhaps I could have got a lot more mileage out of my temple banners and walls had I done so. But I was in there the other night, and I was burning some frankincense. And anyone who's burned frankincense before knows that a little goes a long way. But I took out a chunk the length of the charcoal block that I was using because I wanted to test the HEPA filter, which I had one in my workshop for when I airbrush things, because the smart HEPA filter will detect when the air quality in the room is poor, and it will automatically kick on until the air quality is good, and then it automatically shuts off. And so I brought the HEPA filter into the temple for a test, lit the charcoal, put the frankincense on top, called it an offering, and then left the room and closed the door. I watched on the app as the air quality went from good to moderate to bad, at which time I poked my head back in, and of course the temple was clouded in heavy smoke, which I don't like to breathe, by the way, because I do have lung issues. It's one of the things I dislike about magical practice is all the incense smoke. I don't like to breathe in any smoke if I don't have to. So I left and I watched the app again go from bad to good to very good, and it cleared it out in a short time, no problem. So I bought another one for the temple, and I should have done this a long time ago. Now, there are going to be instances where you're going to want the smoke in the temple, such as if you're doing an evocation, where you're filling your temple with incense smoke to make spirits more comfortable and suited to the environment. In those instances, you may want to keep the HEPA filter off. But for everything else, the smart HEPA filter will kick on when things are getting a little too heavy and bad and filter out some of that heavy smoke, while still keeping the aroma of the incense to begin with. I went down there, the smoke was cleared out, but it still smelled like frankincense. The model I have is a Vital 100S by Levoit. That's Levoit. Got it off Amazon for about $100 and got it quick too. Showed up the next day after passing the temple test. So yeah, I would consider this essential now. It's definitely a quality of life improvement, helping to pull a lot of the incense smoke into the air purifier instead of my lungs. You're going to end up breathing some, that's just the way it is, but this will certainly help keep a lot of that smoke down while still allowing you to enjoy the essence of the incense and provide some relief for those temple rooms that have no ventilation. Number 3 temple essential that you need for your in-home temple would be side altars. You should have a small side altar, preferably on each wall in the room, corresponding with each direction of the room, which in turn correlate to the elements. Your northern altar will be your earth altar. Your eastern altar will be your air altar. The southern altar will be your fire altar. And the western side altar will be your water altar. Now, I often keep my elemental tools wrapped in silk upon these side altars, but there's a lot more that can be done with them. I also keep a candle of the appropriate color upon these altars. Red for fire, blue for water, yellow for air, green for earth, etc. But if you have any elemental magic going on, the side altars are a good place to keep things related to that upon them. Plus, when you get them up, they really make the room look like a temple. Now, you may not have a spot on every wall for a side altar, in which case you may just have to improvise. For example, the wall that had the 2 closet doors on them actually had 3 closet doors. There was a single door, and the other closet had a double sliding door. I had to extend the wall out and convert that double sliding door into a single doorway to have enough wall space between them to hang the air altar. So you may not get to have everything the way you wanted at first. It may take some extra work and planning.
Number 2.
The second top temple essential would be banners and tablets. And I'll mention darkening curtains if you're not going to paint the room black to keep things dark in there. If you have a window, something to cover the window to black out the light. Just mentioning those as a bonus, but what we're really talking about are temple banners and your Enochian tablets. And your tablets may be in the form of a banner. At first I had some little framed Enochian tablets hanging up. Now I have them in the form of banners that are hanging, which is another reason I have the HEPA filters. I don't want to ruin those with heavy smoke. Those were very expensive and took a long time to make. Even if you're not performing Enochian magic, the Enochian tablets are critical to the initiation process in the curriculum that I followed, which was Kabbalah, Magick, and the Great Work of Self-Transformation by Liam Thomas Christopher. And the temple space that I have isn't large enough for a set of temple pillars. So that's why I got banners to represent the pillars and hung them in the doorways of the closets in the east. Sometimes you just have to make do with what you have. And that leaves the final home temple essential,
Number 1.
the double cube altar. Now, this altar is the main altar in your temple. It sits in the middle of the room while you're using it. It can be moved if you need to have the entire space for an operation that requires it. But generally, the double cube altar is going to be in the middle. They call it the double cube because it's 2 cubes stacked on top of each other. Mine has rolling casters on it, so I could roll it out of the way, and both the cubes are hollowed out for storage space. I keep essential books and texts and notes in one of them, and tools and implements in the other. The double cube altar has 10 sides, which corresponds to the Kabbalah, and has other symbolic significance, which you will learn over time as you're performing your work. It would only stand the reason that the main altar in your temple would be the focus of your temple and the most essential thing in your temple. So that will about do it for today. I want to thank you for joining me. Check out mindandmagick.com for programs and more. And I will see you next time. Take care.